everyone, and welcome inside Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WinBet. Glad to have you with us alongside my partner, Brandon Marshall. I am Michael Spencer, here to recap a dominating victory by the Broncos defense as Denver improves to 3-0 for the first time since 2016. A lot to get to today. We're going to talk about that defense. We're going to talk about the offense, what we liked and what we didn't like. But as we do every single show, we start with what's on B-Marsh's mind, presented by Delta Dental. B-Marsh, take it away.
What's on my mind is Mr. Justin Simmons, my friend. And, my question is he among the Broncos greats at the free safety position? The Broncos have a rich history of great safeties, right? Steve Atwater, I'm even throw my buddy TJ Ward, who I saw last night, Dennis Smith, right? Is Justin already in that conversation, or is it too early?
I think he's certainly in that conversation as of now, and time will tell where he shakes out, right, in terms of how high he gets upon that list. But Brandon, I think when you look at the guy who's in his sixth season, who does what he does for that defense, came away with an interception yesterday, one of the two that the Broncos had, I absolutely think he's already in that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, and he's definitely one of the smoothest athletes that I've seen. He's very smooth at the safety position. He's a ball hawk. It's like he's like a magnet to the football. I'm not sure how many interceptions he has.
17 now with that one yesterday.
17, right? And, he's extremely durable. I mean, he's smart. I mean, he does it all for this team, man. I mean, and he's just not a ball hawk. He can actually hit.
Yeah, and he doesn't hit necessarily as frequently or as violent maybe as a Steve Atwater or as a TJ Ward. Sure. But I think even as a Kareem Jackson, his current teammate, but I think when you look at what Justin does, there's a reason why they paid him the big money in the offseason, right? There's a reason why they wanted to keep him here. Part of that's because of his play. Part of that's because of what he does in the locker room, what he does in the community. But I absolutely think that Justin Simmons is now in that conversation as one of the best Broncos safeties of all time. And I think that he is going to continue to climb up that list because I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon. You know what I mean?
Not at all. I mean, not the way you saw. He caught an interception and spun after he caught it. He caught it and spun and kept running. I'm like, this dude is unreal as far as how smooth he is and how good of an athlete he is. Like, he's definitely one of the best safeties. And it's crazy because going back to 17 or 18, when they released TJ Ward and actually it was 2017. They released TJ Ward and the whole locker room was shocked. They were like, what? That is crazy. One of the craziest things that happened. And I guess because TJ got hurt for a couple of days and they saw Justin step in and play in practice and they thought they liked what they saw. But nobody was here for it because TJ was the enforcer, right? Hey, but they had some good foresight because what's happened ever since has been really good.
Yeah. And I remember when TJ got cut because the locker room wasn't the only one saying, whoa, what just happened? There were a lot of people outside the building saying, whoa, what just happened too? But you're right. Obviously it paid off. Let's talk about Broncos defense and what they were able to do yesterday against the Jets. Brandon, I thought this was a dominating performance from the get-go. And there's some people who are looking at it like, okay, it was the Jets. Their offense is terrible. Yeah, but the Broncos defense still dominated them. And you pitch your first shutout since week 6 of 2019. And you get 5 sacks, you get 2 interceptions. Sure, I don't even know that they did what they were supposed to do. I think they exceeded what they were supposed to do. Don't take it away because it was the Jets offense and they're starting a rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson. I thought this Broncos defense was dominant yesterday, and this is now becoming a trend, right? I mean, we're starting to see this. This isn't the first time that we're sitting here after a game this season saying, oh man, the Broncos defense played really, really well. I thought they won the game yesterday because of their defense.
I mean, last week, I remember you asked me if it was the Jaguars offense or the Broncos defense, right? I'm on this week, I'm going to say, it's the Jets offense. It was extremely horrid. It is bad. The quarterback play is bad. Everything is just bad. And I'm like, this is, Robert Saleh, he's going to need some help. He's going to need some prayers answered because, Zach Wilson is not playing well. The Jets are they let go of Sam Darnold, right? And Sam Darnold's flourishing in Carolina right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's and that's taking nothing away from the Broncos.
And they let go of Teddy Bridgewater, and look what he's doing.
Exactly. They're taking nothing away from the Broncos defense because the NFL is the NFL, but the Jets stink. It's terrible.
So
terrible.
You say you're not taking anything away from the Broncos defense, but it sounds like you're taking a little bit away from the Broncos.
Because I said a but. They say whatever you say before a but is negates, right? I want to see next week.
Okay.
Next week. Broncos defense is a really good defense, right? But the Jets are so bad. It's kind of like when we played them in 2017. Similar game. We had Trevor Siemian as a starter. We won 23-0, right? That was a game that I got a game ball. I had 4 tackles for loss, a sack, and a forced fumble. Not to toot my own horn, but I played pretty decent that game. But when you played against Josh McCown, and it was just, But
so based on your logic,
if I'm on the field, it was a great.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, based on your logic, I'm going to need half of that game ball back. No, I think there is something to that, though, B-Marsh. I think you make a good point. And I think that hearing from fans last night after the game and on some of our shows that we do, it's cautious optimism, right? Because it's like, yeah, they're playing well, but the 3 teams that they've beaten are 0-9. Okay, so that tells you something when you're talking about the Giants and the Jets and the Jags. They're really bad. They might end up having the top 3 picks in whatever order it shakes out to be. Right. But I do think there's something to be said for this defense. Yes, they played well in the past. This team as a whole hasn't necessarily always beaten the teams that they were supposed to beat, right? And so I think there's something to be said for that. And then I think there's something to be said for let's wait and see what happens against the Ravens and the Steelers and the Raiders and the Browns. I think these next 4 games are going to really tell you a story.
That's a stretch. And, anytime you get a shutout in the NFL is huge, right? These guys get paid millions of dollars, right? So, look, that's a great feat. But you said the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns, and the
Raiders.
Ooh, okay. Now we're gonna really see what type of team we have.
Yes,
that's a tough stretch of 4 games, and I'm not sure how many are at home, but
it's 2-2. They've got the Ravens at home, then they go to Pittsburgh, then they got the Steelers, and then they go to Cleveland on a short week on a Thursday night game.
Maybe this will be the stretch that will either shut up the naysayers about Teddy Bridgewater or maybe amp up the naysayers.
I think this next stretch is really important. And I think that anything below 2-2 is a disappointment.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to go up against who I picked as the number 2 team in the AFC West, but they're number 1 right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Kansas City. It seems like everybody has figured them out a little bit, drafting and game planning to stop the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And nobody stopped the Chiefs, but hey, they're coming out with wins.
Well, and then when you force 4 turnovers like the Chargers did yesterday, you give yourself a really good shot to win, even if it is, in the last minute of the game. But Brandon, let's go back to this Broncos defense. What did you like yesterday about what they did and how they handled Zach Wilson? Because obviously they got a lot of pressure. I think we saw Von Miller. We've been saying it for 2 weeks, like he's back, and he proved that yet again yesterday with his play. And then you had Alexander Johnson coming up with 2 massive sacks as well. Shelby Harris also got a sack. I mean, they really dominated that Jets offense.
Yeah, I mean, the game plan was spectacular as well, from Vic, man. I mean, he's a master game planner, right? He's a defensive mastermind. They called him an evil genius a couple years ago on the defensive side. I thought they played sound. It was sound football. Von Miller looks extremely, he hasn't lost a step at all.
No.
4 sacks in 3 games, putting the pressure on Malik Reed from my alma mater, putting the pressure on. A lot of things are going right for them. And then, Zach is as a young quarterback, he can't necessarily read the defense all the time. And, the disguise is great. And you saw it on Justin Simmons' interception.
You know what's crazy about Von Miller? You mentioned that number, 4 sacks in 3 games. You know how many sacks he had in 2019?
How many did he have? Like 8?
8. Right. So he's 3 games in to 2021. In 2019, the last season where he was fully healthy, he had 8. He's already halfway to that.
I remember that. And we were tripping like,
yes,
we paying you a lot of money.
Yes.
Because Shane Ray had 8 sacks one year. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And Vaughn is held to a different standard.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he better pick it up though. If he don't pick it up this year, they're gonna.
Well, that's exactly right. Not only is it a contract year, but I also think the way that games have shaken out has helped Vaughn too, right? Because they're playing with the lead, which they haven't done in the past couple of seasons. And they're giving him opportunities to rush the passer, and it's taking advantage of it. And the Jets defense, I mean, on that sack that Vaughn had, they did a terrible job of trying to chip him. You know what I mean? Like, well, Michael Carter's a good running back, but he needs some work in pass protection. We saw that yesterday for sure. For sure. All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Teddy Bridgewater and that Broncos offense. 26 points, no interceptions from Teddy this season. That's good, but Brandon, I am not totally convinced that this Broncos offense is where it needs to be or that they are clicking on all cylinders. We will get into that next, right here on Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WynnBET. Welcome back inside Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WynnBET. Glad to have you with us as we continue to recap a big Broncos win yesterday over the Jets. Broncos improving to 3-0 for the first time since B-Marsh, you were on the team all the way back in 2016. And I hate to bring up this stat. You guys went 4-0 that year. And everybody's talking about, oh, hey, the Broncos are 3-0 right now. And teams that start 3-0 make the playoffs 75% of the time. And I'm like, yeah, the last time the Broncos started 3-0, they didn't make the playoffs. So
I can't believe that. Oh no, we just, I don't want to, I can't cuss, but it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. Well, it was a rough end of the season there, coming off that Super Bowl win the year before. But we'll see, right? Because now the numbers have changed. Now there's 17 games, and now there's an extra playoff spot. So we'll see how that shakes out. But obviously, this team off to a really good start and certainly trending in the right direction. That being said, B-Marsh, I want to talk about this Broncos offense because I took a lot of heat yesterday from a couple different people who were watching our post-game show on CBS4. We were on right after the game. And I came out and I said, hey, look, I thought the Broncos defense carried the day. I thought they were the reason why the Broncos ended up winning that football game for all the reasons that we talked about in our first segment, right? You pitch a shutout, you get 5 sacks, you force 2 interceptions. And then I had some people saying, what are you doing? Why are you hating on the offense? They scored 26 points and Teddy didn't have a turnover. I'll take that every single week. I'm not necessarily hating on the offense, but I think that the numbers here can be deceiving because when I look at this Broncos offense, they left points on the board. And that's not the first time this season that we have said that. They were 2 or 5 inside the red zone. They were 4 of 11 on third down. They didn't even score a touchdown in the second half. They only had 1 drive in the second half of more than 40 yards. They had 2 drives in the fourth quarter that started inside the Jets' 40-yard line, and they came away with just 3 points. So, yes, this offense is better. Yes, it is improved, but I don't think you can sit here being like, oh, man, our offense is so good. Let's not get blinded by decent quarterback play because we've had such terrible quarterback play and such terrible offensive performances for the last couple of seasons. Am I right on this? Am I wrong on this? Like I'm not a Teddy Bridgewater hater. I love what Teddy is doing and I like where this offense is going, but I think it's fair for us to sit here after 3 games and say that we could expect even more out of this offense.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is that with the 3 games we played, it should have been more dominance, almost to the effect of the Bills playing the Redskins. Oh, sorry, the football team yesterday and dominating.
Yes,
right? Dominating. But we don't have a Josh Allen. Okay, I love Teddy. I'm all for Teddy. Right? We don't have a Josh Allen. So I think we got to take the wins. We got to take the small wins, right? Because Teddy is good. He's really good. He's gonna manage the game. He's not gonna turn the ball over. He's gonna move the offense. But he's not Josh. He's not Peyton. He's not gonna dominate a game. You know what I'm saying? And we should have dominated that game even further. Should have been 35.
They could have won 35-37 nothing.
I think then you would have been happy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For sure, because of who we're playing, right? If we go you said 4 of 11?
Yeah, 4 of 11 on third down.
If we do that against the Jets, man, I mean, look, we got the Ravens, you know, the Steelers.
Thank you.
We're playing good defenses. The Browns, the Raiders even have a decent defense.
26 points isn't helping you beat the Chiefs or the Chargers or the Raiders.
Nah, you're right. It's not.
So I'm like, yeah, I want more. Right. And so I understand that Teddy Bridgewater is not Josh Allen, but I'm not going to sit here and just be like, Teddy was great today because he was average. No, like that's not the standard. And I don't think that that's the standard inside that locker room either, because what you're hearing from Teddy Bridgewater is, hey, look, we were okay. We got the win, but we still have room for improvement. And I would agree that when you have 1st and goal inside the 10 twice and you come away with just 3 points, that's a problem.
So are you calling for Drew Lock?
No, gosh, come on now. Hey, look, I love my fellow Missouri alum. But let's pump the brakes here. No, and I think that's a key point, right? Like I'm not a Teddy hater, but I think that when I looked at this game yesterday, the defense won them the game. Okay, maybe that's a little too far-fetched, right? The offense certainly helped. The offense certainly contributed, but I didn't love what the offense did in the second half.
You said 5 sacks, 2 turnovers. What did they go for on third down? That's what I want to know.
It was worse. I think it was like 4 of 11.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
4 of 13. Excuse me. The Broncos were 4 of 11. The Jets were even worse. I know.
Yeah, I mean, we got off the field on third down. You know, I said we. You know, but yeah, man. I mean, actually, you know, hearing you speak so passionately about it, you know, the defense won the game for sure.
Yeah.
Right? That's a team that you should dominate even more than, you know, 26-0. And in the NFL, 26-0 is domination, but you know, we see the small things, the details that can lead to the bigger pictures. When you play a really good team that's sound all around in all 3 areas, offense, defense, special teams, it might not get it done.
And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Teddy Bridgewater. I really am not, because I think he's been really good. I love the way that he has commanded that huddle. I love what he has said after the games. I love the way that he is constantly wanting more and talking about how they need to get better in certain situations. But I don't want to get blinded by the fact that 26-0 against the Jets, while it's a good win, there was still more to be had there. Right. Yeah. This is the second time that they've turned the ball over inside the red zone. They have had red zone issues for a really long time, and they're getting by with it because it's the Jets, you know, and because it's the Giants and because it's the Jags. But I think that there are some things here. If you take off your orange and blue colored glasses and look at this thing objectively, there are some issues here that they have to address moving forward. And I do wonder, Brandon, if perhaps the offense got stagnant on purpose in the second half, because you're without KJ Hamler, you were without Dalton Reisner, you were without Graham Glasgow for much of that second half. And so if I'm Pat Shurmur and I know I've got a decent lead and I know that this Jets offense can't do anything if I give them the ball back, I'm okay kind of just trying to run the ball and get out of here with a victory and maybe not showing my hand to the Ravens and the Steelers. You know what I mean? And maybe pulling back on some stuff. And I can't help but wonder if that wasn't part of the mindset yesterday, because we didn't see the downfield shots like we had seen. I mean, there was a couple opportunities there, and Tim Patrick made some fantastic grabs yesterday. I thought he was great, but I don't think we saw this offense called to the level that we have seen it called in the first 2 games, or to the level where I hope it will be called moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, and we're down weapons, right? I mean, yeah. Cortland Sutton is a Pro Bowl receiver, but he's more of a possession receiver. So, you know, you're not necessarily taking deep shots with Cortland all the time. That's what KJ Hamler's for, right? Mm-hmm. Even Jerry Jeudy.
Who's out. Jerry Jeudy's out, yeah.
He's fast, but I mean, he can get open. He knows how to get open. Tim Patrick is he does it all. He's more the same similar to Cortland Sutton and me, as in my opinion, as far as possession receiver. So we're down weapons. And, you know, I saw a tweet that was saying all the Broncos starters that are down, and, you know, it included Josie Jewell, you know, Dalton, and I'm like, yo, okay, well, it's fine right now because we're playing the Jets, right? When we get to that good stretch, when we play those tough teams, you know, how is it going to pan out? Because we need every weapon we can have, and Teddy needs every weapon he can have.
And depending upon what we hear about Graham and about Dalton, I mean, looking at 7 starters, offense and defense, that you're down. Like, that hurts. And now you've got 2 offensive linemen, right? Like, that's 40% of your offensive line down. And those guys were right next to your second-year center in Lloyd Cushenberry, who I think is having a much better year. But that helps him when he has those 2 vets on either side of him in Glasgow and Reisner. So I think there's real concern on that Broncos depth, especially on the offensive side of the football and especially on the offensive line moving forward. And you're right, they've gotten away with it through the first 3 games.
Get away with it.
I think it can rear its ugly head here moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens have a good defense as always, right? Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe has come back into town. I'm not sure if he's hurt or not. He might be hurt, but
he didn't play yesterday, but
yeah, and so this is something that, if they get a lot of pressure on Teddy, it could get ugly.
Yeah.
I see it actually, man, it might be a low scoring game, next Sunday, but yeah, it could definitely rear its head because we need everybody. We already have offensive woes for years, for years back. So, you need everybody, man. Hopefully KJ will get his hamstring right.
Yeah, hopefully KJ gets right, and we'll see on Dalton and Graham moving forward. Obviously, something to keep an eye on. And again, I'm not hating on the Broncos offense. I'm really not. I'm not clamoring for Drew Lock. I'm just trying to keep a realistic tab on.
A lot of Broncos fans, what I've noticed, at least on Twitter, everything is subjective. It's not from an objective view.
Yeah,
like, I get what you're saying.
Right, like if Teddy, okay, let's say they're playing the Chiefs and it's 26-24, right? Or 28-26. And you're looking at the numbers after the game and you're saying, well, Teddy didn't even throw a touchdown pass. They only got field goals in the second half. Are you really going to be happy with that? I don't think so. So anyway, that was my rant for the day, man. I needed to get that off my chest. I've been holding on to that since about 7:00 last night.
You feel relaxed. I'm sure you know.
Much better. I appreciate you letting me rant to you this morning here on Upon Further Review. We got to take another quick break. When we come back, we're handing out some grades and taking a look around the league, a report card and around the league segment coming up next right here on Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WinBet. Welcome back inside Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WinBet, and it is time to hand out some grades. Let's go to the report card. Professor Marshall, what's on your mind today?
What's on my mind is the Broncos run game. It's very pedestrian. It's very pedestrian, especially because you have a quarterback who's more of a game manager than somebody who will win you the game. You have to have an elite run game. I'm giving the run game a C-. Close to a D.
Close to a D. Woof, you're tough.
I'm giving them a C-. They have to establish the run consistently if you want Teddy Bridgewater to be successful, man. You have to. Hopefully they get it together. They have 2 really good backs. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's the scheme or the O-line or whatever the case may be, whatever it is, they got to figure it out.
Okay. All right. I agree with that. Actually, I think that this Broncos running game needs to be improved. Yeah. It was nice to see Javonte Williams get into the end zone. It was nice to see Melvin Gordon get into the end zone after that. But I think there's definitely room for improvement. Obviously, Javonte had the fumble. He was funny after the game. They asked him about that. He was like, well, I'm just glad we're up 23-0. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't hurt that bad. Yeah. So I'm going to hand out a grade 2, and I'm going to go to Brandon McManus. I'm going to give him an A. 4 for 4 on field goals yesterday. He's been perfect to start this season. B-Mac, I think he's been the best offensive weapon. I harken back to President Obama. The firepower of that Broncos offense, right, has been Brandon McManus. That's a new one. I kind of like that. We might have to roll with that. But Brandon McManus getting an A from me today, and I'm looking forward to this week because he and Justin Tucker kind of have this thing, right, where, like, I don't know if they're frenemies or how that works, but they've done some trash talk back and forth. Tucker's talked about, I could hit this, and McManus is like, no, you can't. And so now, I mean, Tucker got him yesterday, right? 66 yards, new NFL record.
And now, and Justin, first of all, he was not in altitude, right?
Yep.
He's in altitude. He might come to Denver and try to break the record again. He might be able to hit 67, 68.
Yeah.
And he might try it. They might try it.
It's crazy. Like if you're the Ravens, you're at the 50-yard line, you're in field goal range.
Oh yeah.
You know?
That's crazy. That's wild.
Yes. As nuts as that is, I love that. I'm looking forward to seeing the talk that may go back and forth this week, but Brandon McManus getting an A from me today. All right, let's go around the league, brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on their most exciting ever. Shop NissanUSA.com. As we take a look around the league, Brandon, are the Chiefs in trouble? 4 turnovers yesterday. They end up losing to the Chargers. They lose back-to-back games. Mahomes' magic starting to wear off. Hadn't lost a game in September. He's like the anti-Broncos, right? He hadn't lost a game in September. Hadn't turned the ball over in September. Hadn't thrown an interception. Threw a couple yesterday. This AFC West right now, it's kind of upside down with the Chiefs holding down the bottom.
No, it's tough, but I don't think they're in trouble. I think the Chiefs will be just fine if they clean up the offensive line play. But I mean, who are you gonna get now? Or like, what do you know? Is there like some magic free agent offensive tackle that's gonna come and really protect? They better trade for somebody, you know. But I feel like they traded for a guy from the Ravens for Orlando Brown. So I don't know what's going on. I think it's the O-line, but it looked like, you know, Patrick Mahomes was kind of just a couple balls he just threw up, you know, in the game.
Well, because that's what happens when you're Patrick Mahomes, right? You throw it up there, and usually good things happen, and then finally, like yesterday, good things didn't happen.
You got to clean it up, but I don't think they're in trouble. I think they'll be just fine. They'll probably be sitting somewhere on top of the AFC West at some point.
No, I'm with you. I think they're just fine moving forward. I am a little worried about that defense. I think the defense actually can create some issues for them moving forward. But I'm with you. I think the Chiefs are going to be just fine.
Right. They're going to be fine. And I mean, Andy Reid, as long as he's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? As long as he's okay, they'll be okay.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers up to Coach Reid. Who else stood out to you from around the league yesterday?
Man, who stood out is the Chicago Bears. Stood out in the wrong way.
Out in the bad way.
Yo, and it takes me, I want to talk about the Bears because Justin Fields in the preseason went on and did an interview and said, oh, the game is slow. And I read that, and I'm sure everybody else in the league read it. All the starters read it like, it's slow. Well, it's preseason. Stop it. And then went out there in his first start and went 6 for 20 for 68 yards. For 68 yards, Mike. That is unheard of. And then it makes you think like, yo, he needs to go back to college. You know, because he didn't even get 100 yards in his first start at quarterback. And it was just probably the most atrocious thing that I've seen from a quarterback. And I'm like, yo, this is bad.
Well, and all the Bears fans who were clamoring for Justin Fields, now we maybe know why they weren't trying to rush him, you know? And I don't think that the Bears did a good enough job trying to help him yesterday. And I think some of that is on Matt Nagy as the head coach. I think a lot of that is on Matt Nagy as the head coach. But this is why they didn't try and rush him, and we're playing Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton was their starting quarterback, and I think will continue to be when he is healthy.
Yeah, and they probably can open up the playbook for Andy, right?
Yeah.
Just they got to shrink it. They got to make it simple and easy for him. But that ain't gonna cut it against a good defense, you know. And it didn't cut it, and it was ugly.
Well, and I think what you're seeing, Brandon, is these rookie quarterbacks. It's really tough to play in the National Football League, right? Yeah. And like everybody says that, and then you go and you see it, right? And these rookie quarterbacks, they're having a tough time adjusting, and rightfully so, right? And so you're to rush these guys into situations, and chances are, if you have a high draft pick like the Jags, like the Jets, you know, like the Bears did, there's a reason for that. It's because your entire football team is bad. I don't think inserting one young rookie starting quarterback is all of a sudden going to change that for teams, and you're seeing that this season. Yeah,
and that's why Mac Jones is in the best position.
Yes,
successful, because you know the Patriots have a relatively really good roster, right? And he's playing the best out of all the quarterbacks, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to insert Trevor Lawrence, who was supposed to be this all-world prospect, right? And I think he still is. Insert him in the Jags, and now the Jags are above 500, or Zach Wilson and the Jets, and now the Jets are. That's tough. It's more than just one problem. Yeah. They got to fix got to fix it everywhere, and that's why it's hard for these guys, man. It's tough.
Well, and look at what the Chiefs did with Mahomes, right? They sat him behind Alex Smith. Peyton Manning struggled in his rookie season. Like, there's still hope for these guys, but I think it's foolish to think that they are instantaneously going to come in and all of a sudden elevate your franchise and take them to places where they have never been or haven't been in several years. I think that's unrealistic of what we're asking. So I think these quarterbacks are going to be okay, but I also think that they can get ruined in their first year. You know what I mean? And we've seen that happen too. And I think that's an organizational issue. Speaking of quarterbacks in their first year who are killing it, how about Matt Stafford and the Rams yesterday? That was a statement, B-Marsh. That was an absolute statement when you have Tom Brady and the Buccaneers come in and you do that to that Buccaneers defense too.
Yo, they were up 34-17, and I was like, yo, Matthew Stafford is shredding this defense right now. And it's crazy because I've always known Matt to be elite, you know, just from watching them. But then when we played them in 2015 and we went to Detroit and played them, and they had, you know, Calvin Johnson and you know, Theo Riddick and that pretty good offense. And I was like, yo, this dude is a great quarterback on a terrible city and a terrible
franchise. Everything.
Yo, this is bad. And so because, you know, Sean McVay is looking like, first of all, Matthew Stafford won't make Sean McVay look like a mastermind of a great coach. But the fact that Sean McVay took Jared Goff and turned him into what he was, that was it. So we knew, you know, once that trade happened, what he could do for Matt, man. I mean, this Rams team, barring any injury, I see them going to the Super Bowl. Barring injury.
Oh, all right.
I've already said they were going to win the NFC West. I said on Twitter, they're going to win the NFC West. But barring injury, because their defense is so elite, and Matthew Stafford's elite, their head coach is elite, they're going to the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right. I like that. I can totally see that. And I love this for Matthew Stafford. I really do. Like after he basically, you know, dwindled away there in Detroit and was just trying to stay healthy, right? And just come out walking after every single game. And for him to go to LA and the connection that he has with Sean McVay. And you knew, right, when you got those two guys together, the mastermind that McVay is, the talent that Stafford is, there was something special in you to see that. And so I love that. I absolutely love that.
He's the only one, because I guess the Lions, you know, and maybe I'm showing my age, right? The Lions have, in my opinion, have only had a handful of great players, right? Barry Sanders, Matt Stafford, and Calvin Johnson, right? How old is Calvin? Like 37?
He's young.
He might, because he hasn't won. He might need to come out of retirement, join the Rams.
Take the gold jacket with him to LA.
Join the Rams, finally feel some success, probably win a Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying? Play 20 snaps a game. You know what I'm saying? He probably can do it because Megatron can probably do it.
It tells you everything you need to know that Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders hung it up in what most people would consider the prime of their career, certainly still had good years left, and said, I would rather walk away than play for this organization right now.
I would rather do anything else.
Yes.
Even to get paid by this organization. I don't even want your money.
Right.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
I don't want the millions.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah. Hey, let's talk about the Ravens. Let's look ahead to the Baltimore Ravens coming to town. Second straight home game for this Broncos team. And B-Marsh, these Ravens, man, they haven't had the prettiest of victories, but they are going to provide a much different task than what we have seen through the first 3 weeks for this Broncos, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard-nosed. How good is this Broncos run defense? We're going to find out, right? Because, you know, the Ravens have all the bells and whistles with the option plays, the quarterback reads, Lamar Jackson can go crazy, even third and long. Third and long. Who's going to spy Lamar? Because nobody can catch him anyway. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be tough, man. So it's going to be a real tough matchup. Both good defenses, hard-nosed, teams, not necessarily explosive offenses, but, good defenses on both.
How do you go about slowing down Lamar Jackson? That's a loaded question because most people would tell you you can't, right? Like you just try to contain him. But if you're in those defensive meetings this week, what do you think the plan is? Is it to spy him and who do you do that with? I think you make a good point there. So how do you go about trying to slow down Lamar Jackson?
I think, as far as a run game, a lot of time needs to be spent on, playing sound as far as gap assignments and, who's taking the quarterback versus the pitch or versus the dive or whatever the case may be. And as far as the pass game, right, it's tough to stop him, because he's so elusive and he's fast. Who can spy him? I don't know, man. I mean, maybe you have to bring somebody in, to act like he's rushing and then just mirror him. And that's what we used to do when I was in Denver. Somebody would come in and they would act like they're rushing the center and they would just sit back and mirror him. Now, will he make the tackle? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You got to figure something out, because how elusive he is, he's definitely special. He has the elusiveness of a running back and a receiver, and at the arm of an actual quarterback. So, I mean, what do you do with him? I don't know.
Yeah, and they're battle tested too. I mean, they've had some really tough games. They lost in overtime in the season opener to your Las Vegas Raiders. And then your Las Vegas Raiders, yeah. Your Raiders and Broncos. I incorporate you in both. But then they beat the Chiefs, and then they have a tough game with the Lions on Sunday that they obviously end up winning. So I mean, this is a team that's been through some things, and they know how to win football games late, and they've proven that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're battle tested, and the first 3 games were all tough games for them. They came out on top of 2 of them. So that bodes well for the future. Kind of reminds me of us when we were, the year we won the Super Bowl, and I think we won I'm not sure, because we was 12-4. I think we won like 10 games by 7 points or less, like that, or 8 games. That's battle tested. So we knew how to fight and how to win and how to go 60 minutes. Mm-hmm. Ravens do, right? And we'll see if the Broncos do as well.
Right, because the Broncos haven't been in that situation, They just haven't yet. And so I think that'll be really interesting to watch moving forward. One thing that scares me too about this Ravens team as we wrap up, don't sleep on Mark Andrews, right? Everybody talks about Travis Kelce. Everybody talks about Darren Waller. Mark Andrews could create some problems. That's obviously the area where this Broncos team has struggled. This defense has struggled guarding the tight ends. I think that he could be an issue for them come Sunday.
He definitely can be, because, I mean, he's his favorite target. The guy knows how to get open. He's a bigger guy. He's not as elusive as a Kelce or Waller or whatever, but he's great in his own right. I'm sure. Is he a Pro Bowl tight end? I think he's a Pro Bowl.
I think so. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he could have that type of year again. And I think that you're going to see kind of maybe the blueprint of what Vic is going to do for these tight ends, and part of the reason why they drafted Patrick Surtain. And obviously there's no Ronald Darby this week, but I think you're going to see a little bit of how the Broncos are going to guard these tight ends moving forward, especially when you have 2 of them in the division that you play 4 times a season. So anyway, something to look for. B-Marsh, anything else on your mind today?
Nah, man, that's it, man.
Love it. Hey, another great episode of Upon Further Review is in the books. For my co-host, Brandon Marshall, I'm Michael Spencer. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on CBS in Denver and wherever you get your podcast. We will be back with you next Monday on CBS in Denver and wherever you get your podcast for the 4th edition of the regular season of Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WinBet.